Have you ever wondered why she comes back, even after hurting you? I've been there, and trust me, it's not about regret or second chances. It's about power, validation, and testing if you still hold that undeniable impact on her. When Keanu Reeves speaks about this, it feels like he's sharing a secret. The return isn't about missing you, but about reclaiming a piece of herself, a reminder that she once mattered. Stick around. What you learn here might just change how you see every relationship moving forward. Relationships are not just about love or friendship. They are deeply intertwined with psychology, power dynamics, validation, and emotional connections. When a woman leaves you, especially after causing emotional pain, many men assume she's gone for good. But then, something unexpected happens. She comes back. It might be months or even years later when she suddenly reaches out, leaving you wondering, why is this happening? To understand this, we must first recognize the nature of human psychology, specifically, the differences between how men and women process relationships. Biologically and psychologically, women are generally more attuned to social and emotional connections. Historically, their survival depended on their ability to maintain and navigate relationships. This is why, even after leaving, they rarely sever emotional ties completely. Unlike men, who often deal with pain in a linear way, gradually moving forward, women experience emotions in cycles, fluctuating over time. These emotional waves influence their decisions, sometimes leading them back to past relationships, not necessarily because they regret leaving, but because they seek validation. A woman returning doesn't always mean she regrets her decision or has gained clarity about her past actions. More often than not, she is testing something. Does she still have influence over you? Will you react emotionally as you did before? In other words, human nature craves validation. We all want to know that we still matter, that we've left a mark on someone's life. For a woman who once hurt you, coming back might be her way of reaffirming that she still holds significance in your world. However, many men misinterpret this return as a sign of love, regret, or a second chance. As a result, they easily fall back into the emotional whirlwind they had worked so hard to escape. A woman may reach out to you, appearing regretful and nostalgic about the past, recalling the good times you shared. She might send a simple text or subtly test the waters as if nothing ever happened. But beneath the surface, she's assessing your reaction. Have you truly moved on? Are you still hurting? Are you still waiting for her? If you are, she knows she has regained control. This isn't necessarily malicious. Often, it's unconscious, rooted in an internal conflict between the feeling of loss and the need for emotional security. Just like men, women seek emotional closure, but for them, closure often comes from knowing they can return whenever they choose. This is why many exes come back, even after moving on or entering new relationships. It's not always about rekindling love. It's about ensuring that the door remains open. On a deeper level, it's driven by the fear of true loss. Many women believe they can leave, yet still maintain a connection to the past, that the man they walked away from will always remain a backup option. But when they realize that's no longer true, that you've genuinely moved forward and detached emotionally, they begin to panic. At that moment, they recognize their mistake. They assumed they could return anytime, but now, the man they once knew is no longer waiting. Women don't come back because they miss you. They come back because they miss the security of knowing you were always there. When that sense of security disappears, everything shifts. This is where self-mastery becomes essential. If you allow your emotions to be dictated by someone else's validation, if you seek closure from the person who hurt you, you will remain trapped in this cycle. But if you understand this psychological pattern and stand firm in your self-worth, you take control of the game. A woman's return after hurting you is not really about her. It's about you, how you see yourself, how you move forward, and how you rise above the need for external validation. Once you understand this, you no longer wait for answers from those who have already spoken through their actions. You simply move on, becoming the person who no longer asks, why? Human relationships are rarely as simple as we expect. They are not solely built on love, loyalty, or respect, but also involve a sophisticated psychological interplay of validation and power. This doesn't mean that every interaction is manipulative or calculated. Rather, human nature compels us to seek our sense of value through others. The need to be acknowledged, seen, and appreciated lies at the core of who we are. From an evolutionary standpoint, social acceptance was once a matter of survival. Being welcomed by the group meant security, while rejection led to isolation and danger. Even though survival no longer depends on community approval in the modern world, the need for social validation remains deeply embedded in our psychology. We want to know that we matter, that our presence leaves an impact. And this is where power dynamics come into play. In every relationship, romantic or otherwise, there is always a subtle struggle for influence. Who cares more? Who holds the advantage? Who is willing to walk away? And who is left waiting? The answers to these questions shape the emotional landscape of any connection. When someone walks away, especially after causing pain, they are often testing their level of influence. Leaving while still holding power over the one left behind is the ultimate validation of their worth. This is why many people return after causing hurt, not because they have suddenly realized their mistakes, but because they unconsciously seek proof that they still matter. They ask themselves, am I still on your mind? Do I still affect your emotions? Do I still hold the same power I once did? If the answer is yes, they reaffirm their sense of significance. Their return is not necessarily an act of malice or deliberate manipulation, but rather an instinctive reaction to the uncertainty that exists in all human relationships. No one wants to be forgotten. No one wants to feel insignificant. This is why they reappear months or even years later, not with a grand apology, but with something as simple as a text, a casual check-in, or a fleeting comment. The goal is not to rekindle the relationship, but to confirm that they still have a place in your world. If you don't recognize this psychological mechanism, you might mistake it for something deeper. You may believe that their return stems from regret, love, or an emotional awakening. But in reality, it is often just a natural response to reaffirm their sense of self-worth. When you respond with attention, emotion, or longing, you unknowingly reinforce the very power they are trying to validate. This pulls you back into a cycle that you cannot control. Understanding this truth is not about becoming bitter or resentful. It's about seeing human nature clearly. It frees you from the need for external validation and allows you to focus on your own intrinsic value. In any relationship, the one who truly holds power is not the person chasing. It is the one who remains steady, the one who does not need someone else to feel whole because they have already found that within themselves. Once you grasp this, someone's return after hurting you will no longer confuse you. You will no longer see it as a measure of your worth. Instead, you will recognize it for what it truly is, a moment of their insecurity, a subconscious test of their influence. And when you see it for what it is, you gain something far more valuable than their attention. You gain the power to decide whether their presence still holds meaning in your life. Emotional attachment is one of the strongest forces in human psychology. It binds us in ways that logic cannot fully explain, sometimes compelling us to act against our own best interests. Once we have invested emotionally in someone, that attachment doesn't simply vanish when a relationship ends. It lingers, shaping our thoughts, emotions, and actions long after physical separation. This is why letting go is so difficult. It makes us nostalgic for old memories and, at times, tempts us to return to relationships we once left behind. At its core, attachment is rooted in our innate need for connection. From birth, we seek comfort, security, and validation from others, first from our caregivers, who shape our sense of self. As we grow, this need expands into friendships and romantic relationships. When we share experiences, emotions, and vulnerabilities with someone, our identity intertwines with theirs. A breakup, therefore, is not just the loss of a person, it is the loss of a part of ourselves. On a deeper level, there is also the fear of true loss. When someone leaves a relationship, they may convince themselves that they are in control of the situation, but deep down, they are haunted by the thought that the connection may no longer exist as they once believed. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this video. Remember, every experience, whether joyful or painful, is a valuable lesson that helps you grow. Hold on to your self-worth and never let anyone dim your light. See you in the next video.